This episode is brought to you by Iams Pet Food. When you choose Iams dry dog or cat food, you can see a difference in your pet with your own eyes. Healthy energy in 5 days, healthy digestion in 10 days, and healthy skin and coat in just 25 days. Satisfaction for you and them. Guaranteed or your money back. Feed Iams dry dog or cat food and see a visible difference. Visit iams.com/difference to learn more.
Now, two pigeons bemoaning the fact you can stream DirecTV satellite-free.
These humans can stream all the top-rated national news channels on DirecTV, and now with no satellite dish.
This just in. Weather, sports, election coverage. DirecTV has it all, but something is missing. The satellite dish.
What are you doing?
I'm reporting the news. Back to you, Bob.
Here's some news. You're a buffoon.
Stream the top-rated national news channels. No satellite dish. Visit DirecTV.com. Internet required. Top-rated news based on 2023 Nielsen ratings.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Hello and welcome to the 1865 match report as we look back on Forest moving up to third in the Premier League. Yes, third in the Premier League after a comprehensive victory over West Ham at the City Ground. 3-0 it finished. It was an excellent performance from Forest throughout, really. The quality of their football, the dominance on display. No complaints with the scoreline. If anything, it could have been more. And we've got a really, really good Forest team on our hands at the minute. And it's a pleasure to watch them and what Nuno's doing. It's Steven here, and I have got Adam joining me for this match report. Adam, that was a great day yesterday. And the performance was special, but everything around it was as well. The atmosphere, the feeling amongst the fans, it really was a great day.
Absolutely unbelievable. That'll go down as one of the great Premier League home games for Forest in the last sort of 20 years. It was right from the minute go. The atmosphere was fantastic. Before the game, the vibes around the ground were great. It really, really felt like a club that's together. It feels like a fan base that is completely aligned with the vision that Nuno has. And it is a truly, truly fantastic time to be a Forest fan. And I put in our group chat at the end of the game, I thought I could have just burst into tears because I just couldn't believe it. I was so overwhelmed with the emotion of the game, emotion of winning, going third in the Premier League. I mean, talk about the title race going into the season. If I had said to you on November the 3rd, Forest to be above Arsenal, what would you have said to that? You know what I mean? It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd have told you to stop smoking, whatever you were smoking. It is. You're looking at it now, and there's only Manchester City and Liverpool who are above Forest in the table at the moment. That's the kind of company that we're keeping. It's unbelievable. And by the time you hear this match report, Forest might have dropped from third once Sunday's games are out the way. But nevertheless, we've got to enjoy this moment and really drink it all in, because these are the kind of days that we could have only dreamed about back when we were getting knocked out of the playoffs by Yeovil or capitulating against Stoke on the final day of the season a few years ago. Let's get into the match itself then. We'll look at the team news, and one change for Forest coming into this one. Morgan Gibbs-White returned to the team and Elliot Anderson dropped to the bench. Now, Anderson had been carrying a foot injury. He did feature in this game, replacing Gibbs-White later on. But it was one change, Gibbs-White coming back, and Forest with a 4-2-3-1 again with Sells in goal. Back four of Ola Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo and Alex Moreno. Ryan Yates and Nico Dominguez in the middle with Alanga, Morgan Gibbs-White and Hudson-Odoi ahead of them. Chris Wood continuing up top. No real complaints with the team there, Adam. And I think with Morgan Gibbs-White, it's one of those. He's one of our most important players. If he's fit, he should be playing.
Yeah, for sure. I think with Morgan, he will always be in the team, irregardless. Rightly or wrongly, some fans agree, some fans disagree, but Morgan Gibbs-White is the most talented and the best player that's been at Forest probably since, I don't know, Stan Collymore, Pierre Van Hooijdonk. I mean, I think Morgan is that good. He's that level. I felt for Elliot Anderson. He's been outstanding the last couple of games. He's sort of really started coming into his own, but it shows you how talented the squad is. He obviously doesn't feel like you could play Anderson in the eight next to Yates or Dominguez or whatever, that sort of holding midfielder spot is. He doesn't feel he can play in there. He wants to play him in the 10, and that's where Morgan plays. So to have such a talented squad and to have so many options off the bench, I mean, that was the one thing that really struck me yesterday is that when we're taking players off, we're bringing players on that have caused problems. Jota came on, was a massive handful. Sosa came on and pulled, forced a great save out of Fabianski. Like, these players that are coming on are not just coming on to, see out the last 20 minutes. They're coming on to put their mark on the game as well. And it's having so much competition for places just means that the squad is more effective. It means that if someone gets injured, it's not end of the season. You imagine last year, if Morgan got injured last season, you'd be thinking, well, that could be us done just for having Morgan injured. So when this year it's more like, well, if Morgan's out, we've got Anderson. If Anderson's out, we've got Morgan, and it's such a massive positive.
Yeah, and even throwing into the mix somebody like James Ward-Prowse who can play in those positions. He couldn't feature yesterday because of not being able to face his parent club. But yeah, you start to look at that midfield now, and Nuno has got some real selection dilemmas because everybody is in form and everybody has got something to offer. And it's great that Forest have got those options and that strength in there, because I think, as you were kind of pointing to there, if we lost somebody in the midfield in recent seasons, somebody like Gibbs-White, we'd be really struggling. But at the moment, when he has been out, we've coped with it well, and now he's back. It just gives us another dimension to the team and even more strength. Forest got off to a decent start. They had the first opportunity, and it was Gibbs-White who was involved early. He linked up well with Aina. He crossed for Callum Hudson-Odoi, who shot just wide. And then we had an incident where West Ham's Rodriguez went right through the back of Gibbs-White on the edge of the penalty area. Free kick was given, and he was shown a yellow card. That one could have easily been a red, though, because it was so reckless. But we did get the red card later on. But yeah, that was a bit of a nasty one, wasn't it, early on?
Yeah, it definitely divided opinion. Obviously, I sit in the lower Trent, so that was a long way away from me, and no one around us actually realised. But when I saw it on Twitter after the game, I thought, on another day, that is a sending off. Because from where we looked, it looked like it was actually maybe inside the box, but obviously it wasn't. But it's frustrating. I think this is where the consistency annoys me. That when you say stuff like, "Oh, 1 week that gets given, 1 week it doesn't." I know it's subjective. I know the referees are subjective. I know that you can't just say this is black and white how we're going to do things. But at the same time, we have to have some level of consistency with these decisions. And I think that the referee not being sent to the screen was maybe wrong. And this is the problem. This is where I get frustrated. The assumption now is the referee gets sent to the screen, he will give it, won't he? That's basically what happens.
Yeah.
So because of that reputation, the referees don't get sent to the screen as much. But yeah, I mean the studs are up, the studs are high. I'd say it's a red card. I don't even think it was high. Well, I watched Match of the Day this morning. I don't think that Match of the Day even highlighted it. They may have said it, but I don't think they talked about it in the analysis after or anything. So yeah, very strange. Very strange.
And then from the resulting free kick, Morgan Gibbs-White's initial shot was blocked, and then Murillo fired the rebound over. I thought Murillo was going to have it, actually. I would be interested to see if he could take a set piece, and we all know how well he can ping a ball. It'd be good to see him with his left foot having a go at some free kicks. So, yeah, that might be one to look out for in the future. But let's talk about Forest's first goal. It came just before the half-hour mark, and it was started again by Gibbs-White. He played a lovely flighted curved ball into Alex Moreno, who'd got forward. He took his time, picked out a cross, and Chris Wood was in front of goal, 5-6 yards out, and all he had to do was nod it into the back of the net, which he did. Another goal for Chris Wood. Forest up and running. What surprised me, though, is West Ham's defending here, because when Chris Wood is in the form he's in, and we know anyway he's always a threat. It seemed like they gave him so much space there to stand there and let the ball come to him and not it in the net.
It was a really strange one because what Wood did really well is that when the ball was played to Moreno, Wood was actually offside. And I think that this was intelligent centre forward play because what he's doing there is he's saying, well, I'm not going to be a problem to you. Centre halves look at him, he's run offside, let him run offside. But then at the very last second, just before Moreno pings the crossover to him, he backs up behind, he's then puts himself back in an onside position, ball floats over and he just nods at him. He's never missing that. And he's just a revelation. I mean, I've had people that aren't Forest fans ask me like, what has happened with Chris Wood? And I can't tell you. I think to be honest, it's purely confidence. It's a player that thinks I will score every game. I don't care who I'm playing against. I don't care I am going to score every single game. Every time I get a chance, I'll score. And he was relatively quiet yesterday. I mean, he got man of the match, which I'm not quite sure about, to be honest.
Yeah.
But no, it's so lovely to see him like that. And Alex Moreno, I mean, I really don't know what the ins and outs of that contract are, but you need to get on the phone to Aston Villa tomorrow and say we need him permanently because he's got to stay in this side. He's fantastic.
Yeah, and as we'll come on to, both fullbacks really played a part in this win. Let's just wrap up this first half and look at the final few minutes because quite a lot happened before the break. We had Wood involved at the other end with a goal-saving block on the line. It was Paquetá who hit the shot. I think it was just inside the box. Wood was there to clear and prevent the goal. And yeah, good to see him working hard in both boxes, scoring the goal and then stopping one at the other end. Alvarez had been booked just before that for a shirt pull on Murillo. And then a couple of minutes after the goal clearance, we had Anthony Elanga down the right-hand side, running away at pace. Alvarez brought him down. It was a yellow card. It was a second yellow and a deserved red for the West Ham player. And at that point, they've got to play the rest of the game with 10 men. And you just felt that was probably the game wrapped up for Forest because West Ham hadn't done a great deal before then. Bardi shot off the line. They hadn't looked wholly convincing. And then once they'd gone a man down, you felt like this was an opportunity that Forest would take full advantage of.
It was very petulant by Edson Alvarez. The first one, pulls his shirt, gets a little bit frustrated that he's beaten by Murillo, and they happen. But once you're on a yellow card, you can't dive into a challenge like that. Even if you think you might win the ball, even if you think the ball's there to be won, as soon as you dive in and don't win the ball, you're going to get sent off. If I was a West Ham fan there, I would have been absolutely fizzing it in for that because there was no need to do it. If Elanga beats him and gets into the box and Forest score, it happens. That's football. You get beat. You can't micromanage everything that happens on a football pitch. But to dive in like that, it was just really silly. And I think every single person in the ground knew, including himself, that once he dives in and doesn't win the ball, he's going to have to have the early shower. So, look, I heard a lot of West Ham fans, and I said before we started recording, say that they were on top until the sending off, and I completely disagree with that. I think that they had a lot of the ball, but I think we were so dangerous on the break. As soon as we got the ball, we were dangerous. We caused them so many issues, and Alvarez getting sent off was just a bit of the cherry on the cake for them because after that, they weren't in the game. They weren't in the game at all.
So that meant that Forest went into the break a goal up and with a man advantage and in a good position ahead of the second half.
The 1865 Match Report.
Blinds.com is kicking off the savings early with Black Friday mega deals all month long. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can even handle everything from measure to your whole home install for just one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 45% on select styles, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
So in the second half then, Forest 1-0 up at the break with the man advantage and no changes made by Nuno at the break, but Forest carried on in the second half, much like they had in the first. I think they got more of the ball in the second half, which was the main difference between the two 45s. And quite early on in the half, Forest were putting together some nice attacking moves. One of them ended up with Hudson-Odoi curling a shot narrowly wide of the far post, and you felt like Forest had built some momentum and that more opportunities and potentially more goals were on the way. Nuno made a couple of changes just after the hour mark. So Anthony Elanga and Morgan Gibbs-White came off, and in their place came on Jota Silva and Elliot Anderson. Gibbs-White had put in a really good shift, and I think 60 minutes was enough to get him back up to speed to a degree, but also just protect him and give him a bit of rest ahead of the next couple of games. And when you've got Elliot Anderson coming on, it doesn't feel like a massive drop-off. You've got that quality that we've been speaking about in reserve now, and it's great that you've got a player like Elliot Anderson able to come on. Let's talk then about Forest's second goal, and it was Callum Hudson-Odoi again. And I think it came actually from one of Elliot Anderson's first touches in the game, didn't it?
Yeah, lovely bit of skill by Elliot Anderson. What he's just got that amazing close control, amazing feet, and it's a real weapon for us. But yeah, I mean, the goal itself was a weird one. Obviously, that's the stand that I sit in, so I was right behind that one, and I be completely honest with you and say I was very confused to how the goalkeeper hadn't saved it, because it looked like one of those where I suppose it's not easy for the goalkeeper because you get behind the ball a bit, don't you? You sort of you're expecting a touch, and when there's not a touch, we saw it for Cody Gakpo's goal for Liverpool actually against Brighton yesterday. That when you're expecting the touch and you don't get it, that's when you're a little bit like, oh, okay, like it catches them off guard. But this one, there was a very, very slight touch on the way in, and I think it seems to flick it over Fabianski's hands. But I think he'll be disappointed with that one still. That was a chance that potentially he should have been saving that one. But we're not bothered at all. Of course, we're not. Like it was Callum Hudson-Odoi doing what Callum Hudson-Odoi does, and that's cutting in and bending it towards the far post. How many times have we seen it? It reminds me so much of Iron Robin back in the day when he'd cut into his left foot and you knew exactly what he was going to do, but it doesn't mean you could stop it. That's exactly what this is like with Hudson-Odoi, isn't it? It's honestly brilliant to see. It's brilliant to see him back on the score sheet, and you could just take so many positives out of it.
Yeah, and Forest at this point, this was the 65th minute, and Forest were in cruise control. West Ham didn't really look like doing much, and I think it was by this point it was how many were Forest going to get, and they came close to a third when Milenkovic rose high in the box to connect with a header, but that flew wide, and then we really got the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake, and it was Ola Aina who'd burst forward. It was a bouncing ball that he controlled, and then he comes in on his left foot and hammers a shot, flies past Fabianski into the top corner. He's grasping at thin air, nowhere near it. And 3-0 up, and Forest are in dreamland now, with the other fullback getting involved and smashing one into the top corner. It was brilliant.
Oh, it's an unbelievable finish. I absolutely loved his justification for that shot as well by saying, I was knackered. That's the only reason I had the shot. I didn't want to keep running, so I thought I'm just going to hit it. Why not? But that's the confidence that this team's playing with. It's so indicative of what we're doing. I feel as a left back, right back obviously in this case, but as the full back, I feel the confidence to cut in and just smash one into the top bins. It really stems through the whole side. It's lovely to see, and it couldn't have happened to a better bloke. I mean, Ola Aina must be, even if you're not a Forest fan, he must be one of your favourite players in the Premier League. He's just got such an infectious positivity about him. He's an absolute joy to behold every single Saturday, and he's honestly, I mean, he's one of the best free signings in Forest history for sure. He's been immense for us. And it just absolutely flew like a rocket. As soon as it left his boot, you knew it was going in. Fabianski had no chance on a day where overall kept the score reasonable at times. So, amazing finish.
And the sooner we get that contract wrapped up for him as well, the better. He's been brilliant, and he continues to be brilliant. Tyrone Awoniyi came on for Chris Wood, in the 79th minute, with Forest 3-0 up and flying. And then Milenkovic had an effort, which first time shot, powerful drive. Fabianski got something on it and tipped it away. It was a brilliant save. And then after 2 more substitutions, so Ramon Sosa and Eric da Silva Moreira coming on for Aina and Hudson-Odoi, who both got standing ovations when they left the field. Forest had the ball in the net again, didn't they? And there was chancing of if Yatesy scores were in the trend before this, when the corners were stacking up and Forest had the pressure on. But wasn't meant to be. Nobody was going for a dip in the end, were they? Because this one was ruled out.
I'm going to tell you a story about this one that I'm sure will make you all laugh as well. So my dad had a bet on 4-0 Forest. And so his friend had a bet on 2-0 Forest and he had a bet on 4-0 Forest. So I said to him before the game, I'm telling you right now, it'll be 3-0 Forest now. Now that you've had 2 and 4, you've not had 3, it's going to be 3-0. And obviously that goal goes in. My dad absolutely loses it, goes crazy, can't believe it. Everyone notices it's offside and I have to shy him back and say it's offside. And his face was an absolute picture. Look, obviously when you're in the ground, you're waiting for the VAR. And I don't want to have a moan because I want this to be a very positive podcast because we won, but I've got to have a moan about VAR again. I watched it on Match of the Day. It was close, obviously, they're all close, but it was nowhere near close enough to take that long. I mean, it took so long to get to that decision. We're in the 93rd minute, 92nd minute, whatever it is, right? We're 3-0 up anyway, but we've only had 3 minutes on at a time. West Ham players and West Ham fans are probably absolutely desperate to get back on the bus. Why are you spending 4 or 5 minutes? But I couldn't actually tell you how long it was. I reckon it must have been at least 3 minutes making that decision. He was offside. It was the right call in the end. But why did it take so long? Why are we still taking so long to make this decision? It's offside or it's not. It was. You could tell he was. Move on. When it takes that long, you're almost expecting it to be overturned, aren't you? You're expecting him to go to the monitor.
Yeah, you sort of know, don't you? You get that feeling that they're looking for a reason to rule it out sometimes. Even though, yeah, it was the correct result, but I think it comes back to that inconsistency, doesn't it? And it almost feels like sometimes they make it up as they go along.
It's so unbelievably frustrating, and I just want to get to a point where VAR stops ruining situations in football grounds, stops making you look up and think, do I have to look at the line before before I can celebrate the goal? It's just, it is genuinely very frustrating, and I really, really hope that the Premier League can look at the time that it takes, because I don't know about you, but when you watch the Champions League, it doesn't take anywhere near the amount of time it takes in the Premier League.
No, it's done so much better, isn't it, on the continent? And you kind of want to see that starting to filter in over here, but doesn't seem to be the case. So yeah, it is continually frustrating. But luckily for Forest, in the end, it didn't matter on the day, and they got the job done. Worth just mentioning as well, the last kick of the game, Ramon Sosa had a shot which Fabianski pulled off a stunning save to keep out. World class, even how he got something on it, I'm not sure. But that could have been 4-0 and really set the seal on things. As it was, it finished 3-0. It was a superb performance. To a man, I think Forest were excellent. There were some standout performers, which we'll come on to, but everybody played their part. And it was one of the great performances from Forest since their return to the Premier League. And probably, not only was it the first dominant performance at home this season, but I think one of the few dominant performances since they've been back in the Premier League. That almost like a comprehensive dismantling of a team. It's something we hadn't really done since coming back up. But it felt like yesterday was that kind of game, didn't it?
It absolutely did. I mean, there were definitely elements of it that felt like the Championship again. It felt like we were that team that went into a game expecting to win. And that was an amazing feeling. And look, it was 3-0 on the day, but as you mentioned, the Fabianski save from Sosa, he made a really good save from Milenkovic as well, that almost point blank range. Milenkovic probably feels he should have scored, to be honest, but it's still a really good save by Fabianski. So Could really have been 4 or 5 on the day as well. And we're going into games now. I mean, look, we've conceded 7 goals. It's November. It's the 3rd of November. We've conceded 7 goals so far. Absolutely unbelievable. It's the second best in the Premier League. And from going from last season where, we had believe it or not, obviously underlying stats, we had a good defence. We just conceded too many set pieces, which made our aggregate defensive score look a lot worse. Whereas this season, we're not conceding as many goals and the defence looks better. That back four of Milenkovic, Murillo, and then Aina and Moreno as fullbacks, I would go out on a limb, and I'm sure you can try and find me one. I think that's the most settled back four in the Premier League. Doesn't change, doesn't need to change. You know exactly what you're going to get. And I'm a little bit concerned about January because if we're still up there, and when I say up there, I mean probably the top 7, so we look like we're right in the hunt for a Conference League spot, we've got to keep hold of every single player, no matter what our offer comes in, because the financial rewards of getting into European football in any aspect, whichever European competition is, would be absolutely club changing for us.
And that would be the way to keep hold of some of these best players, the likes of Milenkovic, Aina, Murillo. If you could offer European football, it just makes the club more attractive to the players already here, but also players coming in from outside. We're probably getting a little bit ahead of ourselves there talking about Europe, but it's a nice position to be in. And yeah, standout performers, I've written a couple down. I thought Milenkovic was excellent again, perhaps unlucky not to score on the day. Nicolas Dominguez and Ryan Yates were superb in the midfield. They're forging a really good partnership at the base of that midfield as well. And Alex Moreno, who was excellent going forward, looked solid defensively. He played really well. And Ola Aina as well, who's been great all season and topped it off with his goal. Was there anybody who really stood out for you, Adam?
I think there was a number of really good performances, but I think Ola Aina's my man of the match for sure. I think he was absolutely outstanding going forward, coming back. He was brilliant. It's just, you could give it to anyone every single game. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you could ask 10 people in the pub post match yesterday who was your man of the match, and they could all give you a different name, feasibly. You know, that's how much of a team we're playing as at the minute. Yates, he was brilliant. Dominguez was fantastic. I think it was one of his best games in a Forest shirt. I thought he was excellent. Marcel's could have got a deck chair out and read a paper. I don't think he had an awful lot to do, to be honest. It was fantastic. But yeah, I think Aina's man of the match for me. I was very confused when Chris Wood got it. Woody played well, but really, he got his goal and his hold-up play was fantastic. But I don't think he was man of the match, to be honest.
Classic striker taking all the headlines, isn't it? But yeah, looking at where Forest are in the table, so 3rd at the time of recording, and then you look at some of the teams below them, likes of Arsenal, Villa, Chelsea, Spurs, Newcastle, Manchester United. Just how good are Forest? Not just at the moment, but potentially over the whole season. Where do you think we should be looking to finish now?
Oh, it's hard, isn't it? Because I look at the table and I think teams that are below us that will end up above us is where my head's at. So you've got Arsenal, Villa, and Chelsea. I think you'll finish above us. So that puts you down to 6th. Then you've got to ask yourself, can you finish above the likes of Brighton, Newcastle, Tottenham, Man U? That's where you've got to be, and that's where it gets very tricky. Can you be above those teams? We've got no idea how good Man U are going to be under Ruben Amorim. We haven't got a clue. Tottenham under Postecoglou are just so hit and miss. I mean, you could see Tottenham going on an FA Cup run, or obviously putting everything into the Carabao Cup to get themselves a trophy after since 2008. Maybe the league falls away. Newcastle again, they'll beat one of the best teams in the league one week and they'll get beat the next week. They're just very inconsistent. And then Brighton are consistently consistent. They're one of those teams, aren't they? They get the results. So my heart of hearts, I'm saying that I think we'll finish. I really desperately want to finish 7th, 6th or 7th. I would love to get a Conference League spot. it would just mean absolutely everything to get a Conference League spot for Forest. But in my head, I'm thinking 10th or 11th. I just think that Chelsea, United, Tottenham, Villa, Brighton, I think they all eventually will finish above us. So I'm thinking about 10th. But even if we finish 10th, by the way, let's not sniff it. That's a fantastic finish for us.
Yeah, and what I think is important to say as well is that Forest are where we are on merit. There's 10 games in, you're almost a third of the way through the season. Forest are third, and they deserve to be. This isn't just a flash in the pan, a couple of games, a nice easy run. You look at some of the results, you look at the quality of the performances. You also look at how competitive Forest are in games. Even in difficult games, they're in there and they're not getting outclassed by teams. And even winning at Liverpool, getting something at Chelsea, I even think to Brighton when we were on the ropes there, and we still came out from that game with something. This isn't just a little one-off nice couple of games and we've got a handy run together. It feels more substantial than that, doesn't it?
That's the thing, though, and I think that a lot of people have been sort of saying things like, well, when is it going to fall off for Forest? When are they going to get to that point where they lose a couple of games and they come plummeting back down to earth? I don't know. I really don't know, because I think that, okay, yeah, you can say that we beat, West Ham, but look, we beat Liverpool away. We arguably should have beat Chelsea away, if Ward-Prowse doesn't get sent off and Sanchez doesn't make absolute worldly saves left, right and centre. And then some of the games, the game that we lost against Fulham, there's 3 penalty decisions in that, and potentially, I think that they were all correct on that day. But on another day, who knows, maybe we get one and they don't, and then we magically win that game. So you could look at every single game and think we could have won so far. And yeah, look, the fixture list coming up is going to be tough. We've got Newcastle. Newcastle's a measuring stick game for me. How good are Forest? If you can beat Newcastle at home, you're going to be decent. And you got Arsenal away. Can you go there and get something? Maybe that seems a bizarre thing to say, but why not? Why would you fear anyone at the minute? You've got Arsenal away going into Ipswich at home, which is a game that you've absolutely got to win. And then you've got the tough double bill of Man City away and Man United away. But after Man United away, I think we'll know where we're going to be. If we've played Man United away and we're still in the top 6, I think that has to be the goal for the rest of the season. And that might sound lofty, but if you've played all of those teams and you're still in the top 6, you are absolutely there for that reason. So I don't think we're going to have this monumental fall off where we lose 5 in a row or 6 in a row. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we might get beat by some of the top 4 teams away, but respectably, that's fine in a way. So yeah, I don't think these wheels are falling off anytime soon.
And I think Forest have got nothing to fear with their performances and the results they've picked up this season. That run of fixtures, I think we just say bring it on and let's see what happens. That's our match report for Forest 3, West Ham 0. Let's enjoy being third in the league and seeing how long this lasts and embracing this difficult run of fixtures to come. Like I say, I think Forest have got plenty to be positive about going into them and nothing to fear. And let's see how they get on. Thanks to Adam for joining me. Thank you also, listener, for joining us. We will be back with you later in the week with our Friday 5. And of course, we will have a match report for you after the Newcastle game. We'll see you later.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.